Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abbey's Kitchen. So today's video is sponsored by Squarespace, and I thought it would be really fun to do a little responding to your assumptions / questions about me. So I went to my community page, asked you for those assumptions and questions, and today we're going to be setting the record straight. But first I want to chat about my sponsor, Squarespace, because I know a lot of you are looking to start some new careers or some new projects, and in 2021, a website is kind of key. So if you're not familiar with Squarespace, it's an all-in platform to build your blog, website, online store, or just use their marketing tools and analytics. They have so many awesome new features that are perfect for new entrepreneurs. So you can connect your site to all of your social media platforms, so it makes it so much easier to share what you're doing onto those platforms. And they have a lot of really great blogging tools as well that I often recommend to a lot of my blogging friends that I coach. I totally wish that this support was around when I started my blog, because it really would have saved me so much time and money. So if you're interested in getting started, check out squarespace.com to get a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your website or domain, check out squarespace.com/AbbeySharp to get 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. We might have to move around a little bit during this video just to accommodate the changing sun right now, but I got my coffee. And do you like this new mug?
Brent Rambo.
I got this in PEI at a little farmer's market. How cute. All right, let's do it because I got lots of questions to get to. Also, don't forget to check out my disclaimer on screen and in the description below. And if you're new here, definitely hit that subscribe button and make sure you ring the little bell so that you never miss out on an episode. Why is the sun so bright in my eyes?
Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me.
We're gonna have to move around a lot during this interview. Okay, I feel like this is a little bit more flattering in this moment, but it's gonna change literally question to question. So we're just gonna roll with it. First question, first assumption. You and your husband are trying for more kids. Probably not.
Probably not.
I never say never, but I would say I'm like 99.9% sure we're done. I actually did IVF. For those who don't know, I did IVF for both my children, and I have about 8. I think I have 8 more M babies, as we call them, in the freezer. So if I want to have more kids, I could potentially try, but trying for us is not exactly as simple as just like trying.
Nice try.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it requires a hell of a lot of needles, a lot of appointments, a lot of time, a lot of procedures, a hell of a lot of supplements, a lot of crying, a lot of money, a lot of just like physical and emotional stress. Yeah, there are a few steps involved. And I don't know, right now for me, I just feel like Poppy. But I just feel like I'm at a point right now where I'm so content with my little family. Like, I can't actually, I try to imagine it all the time. As soon as like O was born, I was like instantly like, okay, do I want another? Do I feel like my family's complete? And every month, every few weeks, I reevaluate in my head and I try to imagine more children, and I can't. Like, now I just feel like my family is perfect the way it is. But you know, I might change my mind, I might not. Question number 2. I admire you for not showing your kids. Will we ever meet your hubby? Again, never say never, but no. There's a greater chance that you'll meet my kids than you'll meet my hubby, because my husband is very, very private. The reason why I don't show my kids, for those who don't know, is that I just feel like they're too young to consent to wanting to be part of this crazy circus that I've created for myself as a career. They need to have a choice in this matter, and right now they really can't tell me either way whether or not they want to be YouTubers. My husband can tell me, he's an adult, does not want to be a YouTuber in the social media space. He doesn't even have any social media, not even Facebook. So I would say you're not gonna meet hubby anytime soon. You might see the back of him, but even that's a bit of a stretch. Maybe you'll see the back of him. He exists, I promise, but you probably won't see like a one-on-one interview with him anytime soon on my channel. Okay, you've never been someone to overindulge in fast food, cake, biscuits, etc., and you've always kept those foods to a minimum. So I'd say I don't overindulge often because I try to just eat what feels good to my body and eat amounts of food that feel good to my body, but I'm human. So of course, there are definitely days when something tastes so good that I eat past the point of fullness, past the point of what feels good and comfortable. But what really helps me to mitigate that is that I allow myself things and foods that I enjoy, sweet foods even, fast food, whatever. And that's why I don't feel the need to overindulge when I do have those things, because I have them regularly enough that they're not such a novelty to me. You have never been overweight. Your struggles with food have been more of the anorexic, orthorexic end of the spectrum, which isn't to say that you have never felt fat or tried to / wanted to lose weight. So yes, I have said this before, I have never lived in a larger body. So while I can have a lot of empathy and I can acknowledge how unaccepting and cruel the world is to larger bodied folks, I have no direct experience with this myself. Having said that, I don't think any of us are immune to the pressures to want to be thin. We live in a fat-phobic society where thinness is, of course, given a lot of privilege. So while my eating disorder, orthorexia, the one that I was suffering from throughout most of my kind of late teen years, early 20s, was more about kind of an obsession with wellness or being healthy rather than with restricting for the sake of weight reduction, I can say with absolute certainty that of course there will always be and have always been days where I feel insecure about my body, even today, even with all of the work that I've done. Okay, next question. There is a lot of construction going on.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh yeah!
And that is what living in the city is like. Conflict between you and other YouTube hosts stresses you out in spite of yourself because you're used to having civil seminar table discussions like a grad student. Wow, you guys think I'm so cool, don't you? All the family meals are just like, everyone, sit down, take your turn, let's have a civil debate. Honestly, being a type A people pleaser perfectionist, I would be lying if I said that I love the drama. I actually hate the drama. I hate conflict. However, I take full responsibility for any conflict that arises, and I see it as something that, it just comes with the territory and something that I just have to accept in order for me to sometimes take down a lot of the harmful misinformation there is out there. But this is why I started the Fed Up series. So if you haven't watched some of those interviews yet, definitely check it out. I really wanted to have, respectful, civilized, professional conversations with other content creators, even if we're very different or if we disagree on a lot of things. Okay, next question. I assume you've gone to therapy and done the work. You give me healing vibes. Yes, years and years of therapy. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money, but a lot of time, like analyzing my thoughts, doing the work, as you said. And I've done quite a few different, modalities. CBT, CBTI, which is CBT for insomnia, DBT, mindfulness-based therapy, hypnotherapy, EMDR, psychoanalytic work. I don't remember what all of them are called. I'm not a psychologist. This is outside my scope, but my sister's actually a psychologist. So she's definitely helped me to navigate this space based on my own symptoms and what she feels is going to be most helpful for me. But I know that just based on maturity and my, all of the work that I have done, I've definitely come a really long way since my days as, a child and also a teenager and a young adult. Okay, next question. You're very type A person and you definitely wear the pants in your relationship. Definitely type A. Yes, you were right about that, but I think that my husband and I actually have quite a good balance in terms of who defers to who for different things. So there are some things that he is more passionate about or more opinionated about and vice versa. So we have a good sense of like who's responsible for wearing the pants on different aspects of home life. So we actually used this book called Fair Play. This is the playing cards. You have to buy them separately from the book. I recommend both. But anyways, the idea is that there's all these playing cards that represent different household chores, so you and your partner can divvy them up, so to speak, and be responsible for that chore or that deliverable from start to finish, conceptualization, planning, and execution. So for example, it could be something like planning school breaks. So who's gonna do that? I'm gonna do that because I'm a planner, obviously.
Remember that time we went to the deli for cold cuts and the ticket machine was broken, so you found out what time everyone arrived and made them get in a single file line from earliest to latest?
Yeah.
He's gonna deal with all the tech stuff related to the car, stuff related to the dog. Those are typically his domain. I mean, there's other ones obviously too. We really tried to make it as fair as possible, even though ultimately I end up taking on 2/3 of the pack. But still, at least I feel like the cards that he holds, I don't have to think about. So it really has reduced the mental load and the mental burden for me. Anyways, okay, next question. You sometimes feel insecure about the content you put onto YouTube. You know, I actually feel pretty confident about what I put out there. I really think it's important that as content creators, feel a sense of responsibility for our work. So I am also, you know, very forthcoming if there's something I'm not sure about. And if I'm wrong about something or if new information comes up and I'm corrected, I am always happy to put that updated information in a description or a pinned comment, etc. I do try to be as, you know, transparent about that as possible because ultimately I am human and things are always changing as well in the nutrition world. Okay, next question. I assume you avoid calling out nutrition BS with your extended family members, but still probably it makes you heated. I actually call it nutrition BS with my family all the time. It's one of my favorite pastimes. It can be awkward, I will say, and sometimes I get a little bit ragey. And the times when I don't give like a full-on TED Talk, of course, I go home and then like, you know, I get on Google Scholar and I like pull up all these resources and factoids and stats and then I of course ruminate over it all night long on like, oh, I should have said X, Y, and Z and I like come up with all these great responses that I can bust out next time. Anyone else do that?
I do that.
Yeah, leave me a comment below if that is your life pattern because that is just like a typical type A personality trait, but it's definitely one of the reasons it keeps me up at night. But yes, to answer your question, I have a very hard time holding back when it comes to a lot of nutrition BS, especially with people that I actually care about because I definitely don't want them to be like, you know, buying into the snake oil.
Next question.
I assume that you became a dietitian because of your own struggles with food. You wanted to educate yourself and help others too. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I found out what a dietitian was because I had seen a dietitian when I was struggling with my eating disorder. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even know anything about that job. But I will say that eating disorders are rampant in the dietetic student community. I've got a blog post on this, there's research on this, and it really does make sense because I think a lot of people who are kind of really obsessed with food and really interested in food for various reasons go into dietetics because it's like, hey, why wouldn't I want to make a job out of this if I'm already thinking about nutrition and food and calories and numbers and all of those things all day anyways. But when I graduated and I did my internship and all that stuff, you know, I was still in recovery and I found the industry to be just too triggering for me. So I actually went to grad school at that point for sociology. I was wanting to research kind of gendered food choices and eating behaviors. And during that time, I also started my food blog, and my food blog actually became really the jumping off point to my recovery. Like, you know, we talk about going all in, and that's kind of essentially what I did, even though I didn't call it that at the time, but I had to jump in there, throw caution to the wind. I was going to all these food events and restaurant openings and eating out multiple times in the week, and I really couldn't do that if I was going to be stuck in my eating disorder. All right, this is a question. Did you ever offend any of the subjects in your What I Eat in a Day reviews, and did they contact you about it? I think the What I Eat in a Day videos are very personal, and I imagine a few feathers have been ruffled. Yeah, I have had a couple handful of content creators reach out to me over the years.
Lemon water.
Sometimes they're defensive, but for the most part, they've been quite, even if I'm not like 100% complimentary and there's been some critique there, for the most part, I think that they've been quite professional and kind of appreciative of my commentary. You know, a lot of these content creators are not dietitians, obviously, none of them are. So I think that there is a little bit of kind of a respectful dialogue there, and that's kind of a nice thing about this industry and community. But of course, it does weigh on me more than it probably should. I am a people pleaser, as I already mentioned, type A personality, and sometimes I do feel bad and guilty. But ultimately, like I always say, I think that as content creators, we have a responsibility for the content that we put out there. And I feel that I have a professional responsibility to correct some of the kind of nutrition misinformation there is out there through my professional lens. I assume you think pumpkin spice is overrated, you use Facebook, think the name August is nice, and you like the color forest green. Somebody definitely gets me. Somebody knows my soul. I don't mind pumpkin spice, but I don't love it. I would way rather have like a caramel flavor coffee if that's what I was feeling, like something sweet, but I really don't like any of those kind of sweet flavored lattes. Just give me it straight up. If I want dessert, I'm gonna have a slice of cake, right? It's just too cloyingly sweet for me. I always feel like the first sip is kind of like, ooh, that's something new, that's something nice. But then after that, I'm just like, why am I drinking this? This is torture. Yes, I love Facebook. Facebook to me is like the only low stress social media platform because yes, I use it for my business, but I mainly just use it to connect with friends and family and to look at my friends and family photos of their kids and their dogs. Also, funny enough, I love the name August. It was actually on my short list. Maybe it was like the long list. It was like the long list for O because he was actually an August baby and I like the name. I think it's cool. What was the other thing? I love a good forest green. Got some greenery in the back. I've got green eyes, so green looks nice on me. Okay, had to switch you because I was getting overwhelmed with the sunlight. Now I just look like an angel with my blonde hair.
You're like an angel with no wings.
So like a person.
Next question, speaking of angels. You love Christmas and you always stock up on a ton of decorations and gifts. Yes! I love Christmas. I'm obsessed with Christmas. Just reading the word Christmas, it's like I can taste the candy canes in my mouth and I am here for it. I'm Jewish, but we still celebrate Christmas because my family, they're not Christian, but they celebrate Christmas and we celebrate in a big way. Because growing up, we never like got a lot of toys throughout the year. So it was like Christmas was the day for my parents to go a little bit crazy and basically stock up on anything that we might need for the year ahead. And that's what they would do. So we have a big blowout Christmas. And now that I've got kids myself, my parents are like back to going crazy on buying gifts for them. And honestly, I always tell them like, don't buy them anything. They don't need anything. They don't need anything. But it brings E so much joy to open up those gifts. He doesn't really care what's inside them so much, so he just like wants to rip into that paper. And I'm sure this will be O's second Christmas, but last year he was literally just like a blob. So this year he'll be a little bit more into the festivities. I'm excited about them. You excited?
And I'm so excited.
If you guys are excited and want to see some Christmas content, let me know, because I'm ready for it. All right, next question. You were the kid in the class that would sit in the first line and always answered when the teacher made a question about the lecture. Yep. Any of my classmates know I was the girl in the front row with my hand always up. The teacher is probably just like, oh, yes, Abby.
Mr. Potter.
And I still am. I just like to say the answer out loud because I think it helped me remember it as well. Or maybe I just liked the attention. Either way, type A, perfectionist, that's me. All right.
Next question.
Good.
Do you think that for yourself and or for others, you use your ED history as an excuse to not go vegan or more plant-based? This is a sincere question, not an accusation, by the way. So no, I do not think that this is an excuse at all. I feel that I've gone as plant-based as I can comfortably without me falling into scarcity mentality, because I think that if I were to make very specific rules about not eating any dairy or not eating any meat, any fish ever again, that I'd find myself in the scarcity mentality, and what I would do is I would rebel. So in the end, I probably would find myself eating less plant-based as a result of being so strict and restrictive about it. So I just feel like I know my mind and body really well and what's physically and emotionally healthy for myself. And I also think because of my IBS that I would have a really hard time physically going fully plant-based. It would just not feel good to me, or I would just have so few options based on my kind of IBS triggers that I probably wouldn't be able to meet my kind of micronutrient needs. So this is a personal choice and one that everyone has to make. And I think that just by choosing more plant-based foods that I'm doing the best that I can. And I am getting so effing hot. All right, we're gonna do a full circle on this table. Just gonna cover all of our angles here. Okay, next question. You're terrified that no matter how much you try to avoid it, your kids are going to be affected negatively by diet culture when they get older. Yeah, they will. This is like part of the reason why I was like somewhat relieved to have 2 boys, even though I'm well aware that even boys are not immune to the pressure to want to be thin or wellness culture, etc. But I do think that still with, social media especially, things are still a little bit harder for girls. That's just my opinion, but of course, like I said, there's always going to be outliers, but statistically, that's where we're at right now. But ultimately, I can't protect them from that world. It's going to be inevitable. They already know how to use a cell phone. I mean, the other day, I was at Starbucks with E on the weekend. We usually go for Starbucks and we get like chocolate croissants or like whatever they want. And I asked E if he wanted a croissant, and normally he wants a chocolate croissant. He's like, chocolate.
Did you say chocolate?
But this day he said, plain please, I don't want the chocolate. He said, the chocolate's too high in sugar. And my husband and I both looked at each other like, where the did he hear that from? And I was really quick to say to him, sugar's okay. Sugar gives us energy. If we eat a lot of sugar, it may upset our tummy, but there's nothing wrong with sugar. But I'm glad that you're listening to what your body says and choosing what feels best to you. And that's kind of how I left it. And I bought him the regular croissant because that's what he asked for. So I just try not to make a big deal. Like, what I didn't want to do is be like, oh, good choice. Like, go for the low sugar option, go for the diet option, low carb, keto life, peace. So yeah, I really try to keep things neutral. But like I said, like, he clearly heard that somewhere and it wasn't coming from me, and he's going to hear those kinds of sentiments everywhere all his life, no matter where he looks, and all I can do is try to neutralize them at home. I'm wondering about your favorite ways to handle the internet pressure. Food and nutrition information is such a contested space, and you always seem to rise above the drama. How do you remain focused? That's a really good question, because honestly, I don't think that I am really great at that. I actually find this world and this job and community is particularly very hard. It's very taxing, but I'm glad that I play the part well. But I just remind myself that my goal is to help the public make more informed decisions about where and from whom they get their nutrition information from. And if people are gonna troll me over something that they disagree with me on and lose their shit at me, that's not a me problem, that's a them problem. Like, if they have time to write a 2-page hate letter to me to try to justify their choices to me, they're probably trying to justify their choice to themselves. That's how I think of it. And a little fun question here. Would you share an unpopular opinion about a popular food? So for example, my ex-roommate hates scrambled eggs and mashed potatoes because they taste boring to her. Also, my husband doesn't like coconut shreds or carrot shreds because the texture makes him think of fingernail clippings. Do you have something like that? I can see that being a thing for coconut shreds. I haven't thought of it being like fingernail clippings before, so now that's a real great visual for tomorrow's breakfast.
You ruined it.
For me, it's mayo. So here's the funny thing about mayo. If it's on like a burger, like if I'm ordering a sandwich in a restaurant and they've put mayo on the burger, or even if it's like a fancy aioli that a restaurant has whipped up, I'm for it. I love the taste of mayo.
Title of your sex tape.
Love it, especially on something like a sandwich or a burger, because I like the tangy zip. But I cannot and will not put a knife or a spoon into a jar of mayo and spread it onto a sandwich myself. I cannot deal with the gloopy, like, That's what it sounds like. I can't handle that sound. It just turns me right the F off. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way. Let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear I'm not the only psychopath out there. But on that note, that is all that I got for you today. Leave me a comment below on other assumptions or questions that you have, and maybe I'll answer them in an upcoming video. And also make sure that you're subscribed so that you can see any of these upcoming posts and polls and questions that I ask in my community page. And of course, a big thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up, and I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.